Episode 6, Learning How and When to Combine Passion and Purpose from Shawn Stevenson of the Model Health Show. Welcome back, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me on what I know will be another amazing episode. I am your host, Chewning, and this is Ever Forward Radio. Hello again, everybody. Thank you so much, like I said, for joining me on this week's episode of Ever Forward Radio. Now, in this week's topic, I wanted to go back into my own solo session, but this is going to be a little bit of a hybrid. So I had an idea in mind, but then, you know what? The universe just kind of opened up and gave me a great little nugget, a little gifty poo, some swag, some podcast swag. So for any of you that are following me on my other social medias, I showed a video on my YouTube channel, and I'm sure I probably snapped about it or posted on Twitter or something because it meant so much to me. So about a month ago, I went to a local restaurant called Busboys and Poets because one of my favorite health wellness experts, Mr. Shawn Stevenson from the Model Health Show, his podcast, The Model Health Show, was in town. He was doing a live recording here in Washington, D.C., and so May and I jumped on the tickets. We scooped them up as soon as I found out they were available, and it was about, I would say, a venue size of, I'm going to say 50 people, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less, but it was in a back, well, technically side room of this restaurant. And I didn't know he was going to be doing a Q&A. I just assumed he was going to come prepared with a topic to discuss and just, have that open platform, that open forum to just kind of change things up a little bit. So I was very pleasantly surprised when he said this is going to be a Q&A session. So I hope you all came with questions. He just went kind of round table, had Jade walk around with a microphone, and anyone who had a question for him, seeking help with a particular health issue, concern, wellness topic, or really, anything in his field, he opened it up to field questions. And I was fortunate enough to get the microphone once. So when Miss Jade came around to me, I was prepared to ask him a question of a different nature. I have always been intrigued as to why people kind of step away from the familiar, the known, and pursue their own passion, but in a different way. I always go back to finding ways to take a passion, put it to purpose, or, vice versa, kind of reverse engineering that. You know what you like to do, you just don't really know your why just yet. So I asked him because I knew his story of being in a, like I say in the question, a brick and mortar establishment. He was an entrepreneur. He opened up his own health coaching practice, his own wellness clinic, and would see patients, clients on a daily basis, much like I do myself now. I am a certified health coach, and I work with patients in a clinical environment, helping them combat things like diabetes, prediabetes, high cholesterol, dyslipidemia, obesity, overweight, morbidly obese, and things of that nature. Also those just seeking specific exercise programming, personal training, weight loss programming, and things of that nature. So I felt like him and I have that common denominator in that he came from where I am right now. And why I'm doing this podcast and why I do a lot of my other side projects is because I feel that itch, that pull, that desire really to take what I know and take what I'm currently doing and just funnel it through different ventures, different forms, different platforms, different medias, and just get the content out there, but then to also pull resources from others doing similar or like-minded things. So I was very fortunate enough to have the microphone, to have the floor for a little bit. I asked him, wanted to pick his brain as to what it was that really got him out of the clinic and into the podcast world and into this digital free range of social media and just applying what he was doing in a different approach. So I really want you all to listen to this, listen to his response very closely, and also listen to what Jade has to say. They both give great perspective, great insight, and I hope that you can apply this to maybe something you're pursuing on your own. I would encourage you all to go back and listen to a previous episode that I have called The Power of Taking Action. I believe that's going to be episode 3 and is my first solo episode. And I think by listening to that and kind of just learning the best practices, the how and the why and the when to put action to something that you've just been sitting on for too long. And so Shawn really did a great job of taking that and expanding upon it and really explaining why he did what he did and how he could find this new purpose that still suited his same passion. So without further ado, everyone, if you listen to my podcast, if you enjoy the content here, I can tell you right now you are going to thoroughly enjoy, if not tenfold, his show, The Model Health Show. Please go check him out. He is a wealth of knowledge when it comes to diet, fitness, exercise, wellness, just himself, not to mention the world-class caliber people that he gets on and experts on his show. So without further ado, like I said, here she is, Mr. Shawn Stevenson and Miss Jade of The Model Health Show.
We're going to come on this side of the room, and if you'll share your name and question too.
My name is Chewning. I live here in D.C. First of all, I just want to say thank you to Jade and Shawn for being continuous wealth of knowledge. As someone in the health and wellness industry, I love seeing the new episode pop up on my podcast feed. So shout out to Model Health Show.
Thank you.
Mine isn't really a question about health, but a little bit more kind of the entrepreneurial side.
Awesome,
of history. So like yourself, I'm a health coach. I'm a trainer. Every day I work with people one-on-one, but I feel kind of like that itch, that pull, that drive to branch off into a lot of different side projects, working with other individuals in like a different population, even into ventures such as, podcasts and different platforms to help learn and continuously apply what I've learned to others. And so I would love to get your kind of background on what it was, if there was a particular moment, and how you kind of transitioned out of that brick and mortar coaching mentality and into really putting a purpose to your passion.
Perfect. Thank you. That's a great question. Jade, I know you got some things to add to this as well with your beautiful self. All right. So when I began in this field, which was now 15 years ago, I didn't know that it would come to this. I didn't know this was a thing. Podcast wasn't a thing, right? So I began with these grandiose ideas like, you know what, I'm going to open a gym someday, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. But fate had other plans for me. And it's really about, number one, paying attention to what your heart is saying. That's most important. And when I would tell my mom, I'm sorry, my mommy and my mom, when I tell my wife that, yeah, she is all of that. You take care of me. I love you so much. But when I tell my wife about like opening a gym, she'd be like, yeah, okay, whatever, But she's done that for a lot of things that I've come up with over the years. But so he's playing like me too. So when I started off in this field, I did what I knew how to do. Is the kind of low-hanging fruit for me. And this was a big part of my transformation, was working out and training. And I'm coming from this so-called incurable disease, this spinal degeneration. And so having this recovery and this amazing recovery, I felt so good. And exercise was a part of that. First of all, I was so liberated because I could exercise. And I just absolutely loved it. And I wanted to share that with people. So, and I was very, very passionate. Obviously, if I'm coming from I'm told that this is incurable to not having the issue anymore, it's very powerful when I talk to people about movement, about nutrition, because I saw it work for myself. And I saw it work in the lives of, I work with thousands of people now in a one-on-one context in my clinic, all right, or in the gym. And so that was my passion. And it was through training because I didn't really know much about nutrition still. I was figuring it out. And so eventually, I shifted my course of study in school to studying more biology. And I had one class with my girl, it was marketing. We were just talking about this actually at lunch. So just to give you a snapshot of where I was at mentally then. So this was like 2005. Maybe it's 2004 actually. Neither here nor there. Here's what happened. We had a marketing class together, all right? We had to do a presentation on a product. And so I chose naked juice, all right? So when I said naked juice earlier, people were like, was you naked juicing? What is naked juice, Because it's so it's crummy, right? But I thought it was like the bomb because I was getting in a little bit of vegetables because I wasn't really vibing with vegetables yet, but it was super sweet. Like my taste buds were telling me, right? And it's like, I don't know, 44 grams of sugar or something absurd in there. And it's pasteurized, homogenized. It's literally destroying upwards of 80% of the minerals and trace minerals in the food, in this drink. But anyway, so we did this little marketing project, and we stood in front of the class. We made posters or something. I don't know, maybe she can remember it a little bit better. And she's like, I'm not getting on the show. I'm going to keep trying. But it's because I was so invested in this idea that this thing was going to work, okay? And so that's where my consciousness was. So as my awareness grew about nutrition, here's the key, number one, and everybody in here is already doing this, which is so powerful. We have so many health coaches, healthcare practitioners, nurses, physicians, chiropractors, acupuncturists who listen to the show. And the key is learning from the best. Learn from the best. And so that's what I started to do. Like I was fortunate enough to ask the right question. So when I wanted to learn about heart disease, I asked who is the best person in the world in this field? And I just started to read their stuff, read their books, listen to their presentations. And I became very well versed in how the whole system worked. And 9 times out of 10, it's like, why doesn't anybody know this? All right? So that shifted my focus to nutrition because obviously, there's a lot of trainers. There's a lot of trainers that are incredible at what they do, absolutely brilliant. And I felt that my gift was more so in nutrition. And so I shifted over and really focused on it. I opened up my clinic. I took a big risk to open up a clinic, and it became a very thriving practice. And I was able to assist people, with cancers and diabetes and heart disease and weird stuff like Rocky Mountain fever, Lyme's disease, all these different things, and seeing these amazing turnarounds. And usually, and how I really became just deeply involved in that, is that I would oftentimes get the people that were told, there's nothing you can do about this. All right, you have stage 3 cancer. You have stage 4 cancer. There's nothing you can do. Right? So I would get these people, and to help to nurse them back to a state of wellness was very powerful and profound. So what changed for me, just to kind of get to the heart of this, was I realized, because it was like 1 week, and I had maybe 8 people come in with type 2 diabetes. And I had to do the same presentation 8 times, all right? Because I'd take it through and I'd show them how the pancreas works and the beta cells, and they can produce glucagon as well, and how you get into this kind of carbohydrate spillover, blah, blah, blah. And they'd be lit up, like they would actually understand how they have the disease now and how to reverse engineer it. But I was like, damn, I got to keep telling people this same thing over and over and over again. Maybe I should record it. Say hello to the Model Health Show, right? So that was really the catalyst for it. And, many years ago, and there's some people who listen to the show now, and shout out to you, that were listening to me on a previous show many years ago, that wasn't mine. It was for this entity, which I'm still really good friends with them, but it wasn't mine. It wasn't my brand. I wasn't being fully 120 myself, like I get to be with you guys. And also just being able to have the structure, and also to have Jade, that counterbalance, to help to facilitate things and to produce things at a high level for everybody. Did I cheer a clap for Jade? Is that what that was? And so here's the key, and this is what I want to get to for you, man, is when I started the show, I was still running my practice. And I had to get to a place of extreme honesty with myself. What do I want to do most? Because here's the takeaway. You can do anything, but you can't do everything. And I had to decide. All right? You can do anything, but you can't do everything. And I had to ask, am I in love with the cocoa? That's not what I said. That's a joke. I said, am I in love with running this practice? And the answer was no. I loved it, but I was no longer in love with it. All right? but I was in love with this show. I was in love with influencing influencers. I was in love with writing. So I focused all my time on that, and I took the leap to close my practice, which was hard, for about a week. Then it's like, man, I should have did this a long time ago, because it freed me up to give my gift. That's really the thing. I had to listen to my heart and be honest about it, what I really was here to do. And that's what I encourage you to do, my man. It's just, you get to choose. You can do anything, but you can't do everything. And that does not mean it's going to be easy. It's going to be a smooth ride, because there are many ups and downs through this process. More ups for sure, because I'm walking my path. But that's really what it boils down to. It's just listening to your heart and doing the thing that would most move you forward in your career path. Like, do that now. Stop wasting time. Just start doing it right now. Jade?
So I'm glad you brought up what the love is. And so I'll bring a couple references into the conversation. One, listen. If your heart's been telling you that, don't ignore it anymore. There's a reason why you're being pulled toward that. And there's someone on the other end waiting to receive it. And if you have more to give, then go ahead and give it. The other thing is a book that Shawn had brought to my attention, which has really transformed things, and that's called Essentialism. Essentialism by Greg McKeown. And he says where these three things align is where you'll find where your passion, where you're also skilled, which you have both, and where your greatest contribution is to the world. Where those things meet is where you'll see the magic happen. Right. Now, for me as a producer and with Shawn, there's a magic formula in radio. They say the magic formula is frequency and consistency. This for us was one of the most consistent things that we had ever done. And we had to eventually decide that there won't be anything else that comes into that space when we're doing the Model Health Show. Now, sacrifice, and Shawn has talked about this in other shows, means to keep sacred, not necessarily to give up and lose everything, but you really gain by keeping it sacred. So that formula of consistency and frequency will carry you through those times when you fall a little out of love or it gets tough on the thing that you decided to go ahead and do. So bring your passion and your skill together where you know you have a great contribution to the rest of the world. Believe in it and know that you can do it. But for everybody else, everybody in here, you have a range of influence. It could be 5 people. It could be her whole family's here. Whatever you have that you have a mouthpiece, an opportunity to share is your platform. And that becomes a great opportunity to transform someone's life. You may pass on something you hear for the Model Health Show. You might pass on the Model Health Show, and it changes someone's life. So there is a great gift and offering in that sharing, but most certainly if there's something pulling at your heart to do more, go ahead and move forward in it. Go ahead and give it a try. Now, Shawn also said that he shifted. Maybe you don't come out with the full practice or the full model or design. Don't go buy a building off top. Anymore we want to be more nimble. Because as you evolve, what you'll be able to do will evolve. I just knew I'd have 3 blocks of Hollywood studio of my own. Technology changed all that. Who needs that, right? But be able to shift. They call it in the entrepreneurial ecosystem being able to pivot. And you want that so that you're not so locked into one thing that you can't even give up the opportunity cost or the sunk cost bias because I've already done it so long, I've already done so much. And if you're that person who you've come way out here on the plank, I've already gone all the way out here, it's okay. At any given moment, wherever you are in your life, you can pivot and shift and change your trajectory. If I said something 5 minutes ago, whether or not everybody gets it, if I need to change for me, change for me, change for you. And you'll be a better offering to everybody else you influence and that is in your life anyway. So those would be my recommendations for you, and I can't wait to see you go forward.
Perfect. Be nimble. Know that you can do anything, but you cannot do everything. Those were probably my biggest takeaways from Shawn and Jay's response to what it took and what it takes to have that realization of what you're doing and what you really want to do, and to just kind of tread lightly in that process, to still pursue your passion in perhaps a different purpose and a different method, but to never quite abandon that one strong foot in a sure thing is kind of what I interpreted it as. So, definitely never leave a stone unturned, never pass up an opportunity, but also kind of stay where you know that you can continue to learn until it is time for you to take that leap of faith, to fall out of that nest and really flap your wings for the first time. So I hope that you all learned as much from those two as I did. They are a continuous wealth of knowledge. So if you have not subscribed to the Model Health Show, I highly encourage you to go check them out. They're on iTunes. I believe they're also on Google. You can also check them out online. Shawn puts out a lot of great content. He has also written a phenomenal book on sleep health. He is probably one of the most referred sources that I give to my clients, my patients, for people dealing with sleep issues. So you can go to the ShawnStevensonModel.com. All of his material and resources are there. And I personally just want to say thanks again to Shawn, Jade, his family, his wife, his whole team, who put on an incredible live event for us here in DC. It definitely is something that I still look back fondly on. I also want to say thank you to Shawn for allowing me to use this material. I reached out to him via Instagram and kind of just explained my podcast venture, what I'm doing, and how I thought that this audio clip would be a great combination to a topic that I wanted to do. And he said, absolutely, man, take it, run with it, happy to help. So I just thoroughly enjoy being around people that are just constantly giving and have that servant's heart. So again, Shawn, thank you so much. So that is going to be a wrap for this week's episode. I hope you all enjoyed this. I really think that what he had to say to me is something that we could all find useful. Thank you all again for joining me on this week's episode. I hope that you can take this message, apply it, and live a life ever forward.